Okay. So the I'd like to show you a few slides to explain, I guess, a little bit of a context and motivation behind my study. I hope that that gives you some ideas as to what on earth I want to study urban decay in Detroit. I'm sure many of you know a lot about Detroit already. As of this year, Detroit has about 100,000 vacant buildings. Now, it takes about $10,000 to remove each house. So 100,000 times 10,000, that's about what? About a billion? About $1 billion. That's a lot of money. Detroit right now has about $400 million budget deficit. Also, it has about $15 billion long-term debt. I don't know if you knew, Detroit right now is under the control of emergency financial manager. So the picture doesn't look good. So one of the crises we have in Detroit is that we have just so much vacant land. And we do have a vacant land crisis. And the darker the color, the more vacant lots you have in a given neighborhood. And you can see, I mean, the big part of the Detroit is dark, gray or dark. Some of the recent statistics tell us that about 40 square miles of Detroit is vacant. So, there's something that we should think about. I'm sure you saw this Time magazine article, which was published 2010, I believe. And I mean, because of so much the shrinkage, urban decay, and vacant land crisis, we have received a lot of attention from all over the world. And pictures like this, quite normal. You can take beautiful pictures like this anywhere you go, and you have a fantastic view of a, downtown Detroit on the background. And this is actually taken in one of the abandoned industrial ruins. So I get to think when people in Detroit wake up in the morning, go to bed at night, it's very quite common for them to be exposed to, urban ruins anywhere they go, and in the morning, in the evening, at night. So I do wonder, what do they think? What do they think about urban decay, urban ruins, and it's been that way for the last 6 to 7 years. And so I got really interested in understanding how people feel about urban decay and what actually they do. So I also thought that much of the media articles, many of the media articles have been focusing a lot on negative aspect of Detroit. But there are many things happening in Detroit that I consider something positive. Before I explain to you how I conduct a study, I'd like to explain to you some of the interesting findings from literature review. When you look at, by the way, I'm not an expert in spirituality. I simply got in this project based on what I do at the teacher studio. So when I look at some of the articles published for the last 10 years or so, you don't see it was very hard for me to find articles that focus on spirituality in places in urban ruins. So I thought maybe I should, maybe that might be an area that somebody has to kind of take up on. Number two, scientific rigor. I was encouraged by the fact that there are many articles that I thought rigorously done because they use grounded study, systematic inquiry, and empirical investigations. And that's something I didn't expect, but there are quite a few there, and I learned a great deal from those articles. I also saw a few articles that use cross-disciplinary and combined research strategies, which I think is useful, especially in the context of studying spirituality in Detroit. And place model, one of the jurors from one of the reviewers of my paper apparently didn't like the fact that I used the place model, but I found it actually useful because place model proposed by David Cantor in 1977, I think that's when he proposed. He argued that you have to study place, not just in terms of a place attribute, but also people's behavior and people's conception. So that, to me, that's kind of, I guess, a model that I think is useful if you want to study spirituality in Detroit. So let me just show you some examples as we proceed. So I used the in-depth interviews, focus groups, and some survey questionnaire also, and site observations. And now today I'm going to just show you some of the initial findings of interviews and focus groups. And I hope that I could include the outcomes of site observation maybe next year. So when I asked our study participants how do they feel about urban decay, urban ruins, and obviously I think people have a mixed emotion. To be honest, people have a sense of sadness about all the ruins they see when they wake up. But I also saw some interesting theme that run through many of the statements made by our project participants. And they talk a lot about some sense of spirituality in some of the most well-known urban ruins in Detroit. Not all the ruins, but some of the well-known ruins in Detroit. They feel some of them, they visit some of the well-known urban ruins as a place to pray and reflect on, their life and their neighborhood and so on. So that intrigued me. And then I asked them subsequent questions such as why you think some of the urban ruins are spiritual to you. And there are many reasons. And I found that there were 4 reasons stood out more strongly than other reasons. So I'm going to explain to you catalytic dimension, therapeutic, reflective, and engaging. Okay. So the first one, catalytic. That's how I define it. There's some places in urban ruin are considered spiritual because they encourage people to do something good. People do good things for their neighborhood, their people. It's very action-oriented. It's about above and beyond just talking about what they want to do. It's about something that they want to do it, even though the situation is really hopeless, but they still want to do something. So this is one example that has been talked about quite a bit. There is a major mural project in one of the neighborhoods in Detroit. It's called the North End Community. Just one day, people got together, worked with students and faculty and volunteers, visitors, all of them met, and they actually worked with the artists to create a huge, gigantic mural. And this happens to be not far from Teacher Studio, and this is one of the main roads where you see quite a bit of traffic throughout the day, and some people call it is falling. The sand is falling down from the sky, but there are many people I talk to talk about positive aspect of this project. This building has been abandoned for about 40 years, and by the time people got together, create this art, there was a strong sense of, it was around 2009, 2010, there was sense of hope, sense of change for future, sense of growth, and also bringing people together and making things happen. So that was good. But what is even better than that is that there are a lot of young people, young professionals, including artists, young architects, came together. Actually, some of them used to live in suburb neighborhood, decided to come to this neighborhood, working with people living here, and start making changes. So this is one of the positive outcomes of the catalytic mural project that you saw. Steve happens to be one of my students. He mobilized high school kids in their own neighborhood. By the way, it is part of a North End neighborhood. They got together, worked with the children, and they spent several Saturdays and Sundays, and throughout the year, clean up the building, abandoned building, and turn that into a piece of art. And this building is going to be a new home for ice cream store next year. There are many other examples in North End area. Now, compared to the example that I showed you, those are mostly action-oriented. In this case, this artist decided to make a strong commentary on ruins. In this case, he wanted to say something about ruins created by Packard Building, which is one of the well-known industrial ruins in Detroit. There are some other examples in Detroit. Moving on to our next dimension, therapeutic dimension, which is to say therapeutic dimension has to be the places in urban decay. It can be spiritual because they are healing, they are consoling, they are comforting you. It isn't as active as the first dimension, but nevertheless it is important. People in my study project group told me a lot about some of the places they go as a place to reflect on what has happened to them, and also their neighborhood and so on. And it isn't just about go there and cry and mourn, but it is also about planning next steps. And especially some of the well-known urban ruins have played a big part in the minds of these people in my study, in my project group. There's a very famous abandoned building in Detroit. This person talks about that, a new massive garden created in front of the empty building. In this case, he talked about Michigan train station. And the garden and the station heal the old large scar of the city. So that's the train station. It was built in 1913. It was closed 1988. When this building was built in 1913, it was the tallest train station building in the world. And right now, there are some activities going on. There are some agencies working together with nonprofit groups to replace the windows, but still the main attraction in this case is a huge green space in front of the building. So This picture shows the very beginning stage of the garden project. Several years ago, New York Times noticed it. They did a wonderful story about this efforts. There are some other examples. There are some other good urban ruins in Detroit. When you look at those examples, you notice that many of the popular urban ruins happen to have a green components. So because of the popularity of urban, landscape urbanism and some of the environmental study outcomes that came out of environmental psychology, because of their contribution, the therapeutic and the consoling aspect of green have received a lot of attention. I think it doesn't surprise me that green does appear quite often in some of the urban ruins. A few thousand miles away, this is an example in Germany, I believe, based on landscape urbanism concept. So what they do is they use landscape urbanism concept to focus on industrial ruins, using green as a ground to promote artistic enrichments and the environmental remediation and cultural activities. I think it's a good model, and something like this is happening also in Detroit, which is encouraging. Reflective dimension. Places in urban decay can be spiritual because they help connect individuals to their selves. So compared to the reflective dimension, reflective dimension is more passive, I guess, and therapeutic dimension is much more active because you do console, you do listen carefully, console, and so there are some differences between this reflective dimension and the therapeutic dimension. It's been very interesting when I started run the teacher studio after Tom Berry left. 2000, there wasn't any tour group that shows urban ruins. Now, it's been just the last maybe 2-3 years now. There has been maybe 24 organizations that actually offer the free tours of urban ruins in Detroit. And every time I join some of the tours, I see like people from Japan, Germany, England, Netherlands, including people from other states. And I don't know whether they come because they like our malaise or sadness, but it's quite interesting. They get a satisfaction out of our unhappiness, but but anyway. So it was interesting to notice that in our project participants, a lot of people talked about actually having part of this tour with their children offered by non-profit agencies, and had a chance to actually look at their neighborhood, urban ruins, and trying to make sense out of them. And it's definitely very educational and make you think about what has happened and what to do about in the future. So, boy, this is just a screenshot of the one of the website of one of the tour groups that offer a tour. Now you cannot see here, but there is a title over there. It says "Fabulous Tour of Urban Ruins in Detroit." I think some of the study participants like the idea of storytelling as a way to connect themselves to their inner selves and teach them about what has been forgotten, trying to build a sense of connection. in some way. And even though ruins look terrible, but there's a memory there, and good and bad memories, and it isn't simply just being sad about what happened, but it is also about what they like to do in the future. I think it'll be interesting to know, to use some of the storytelling techniques, PAL method and ethnography that are used in social sciences. And those could be extra tools to, I guess, advance studies about spirituality, in my humble opinion. So last one, engaging. How much time do I have? How much time? Oh, 2 minutes. Okay, so I have to wrap up quickly. Engaging. Places in urban decay can be spiritual because they connect people in many different ways. So if you compare this to reflective dimension, you are connected to your inner selves. In this case, you are connected to other people through urban ruins. So that's a big distinction, very important distinction. I get this sort of coming from many of our study participants. The one thing that urban ruins do a pretty good job is to bring people together. And especially, I guess, maybe in Detroit only, I don't know. So now that doesn't mean that after you get together, it doesn't mean something's going to happen, but still, it's very important for people to get together and at least acknowledge what their reality and think about what they should do. So this picture was taken in front of a very famous abandoned building. It's a global globe trading building that has a huge yard in front of the building. People gathered there to do 5K run. Now, the purpose is not just to have a 5K run. The idea behind 5K run is to engage urban ruins with the contemporary society in some meaningful way. So that's one way to engage you to, I guess, other entities, other people, other forces out there. So build a relationship, social relationship between the urban decay and anything other than urban decay. So I think studies done, especially in the field of environmental psychology and other disciplines, have shown that social interaction definitely promote public health. Social interaction lead to positive, social supports, positive attitude toward society, and also promote reasonable behavior. So I think there's something about social interaction that need to be promoted that can be done also through urban decays, to believe it or not. So final slide. I think, I guess in my limited study of spirituality discipline in general, the therapeutic and the reflective dimensions are pretty, I think, well discovered, well studied, but I had a hard time finding studies about spirituality more in terms of engaging in catalytic dimensions. So maybe that's something that I like to explore in the future. Maybe I'd like to write more about those dimensions of spirituality. I think given the fact that cities like Detroit going through major shrinkage from 3 million to less than 700,000 people, Philadelphia, a bunch of other cities going through post-industrial stress and shrinkage, we should acknowledge urban decay as part of existence and reality, and rather than reject them, we should figure out a way to find some meaningful aspect of urban decay. So that's That's my conclusion.